Hey soccer fans, Nick back on the Feed the Fire podcast, and in tonight's episode we are looking ahead to Major League Soccer Cup. The MLS Cup will be lifted this Saturday either by Inter Miami, led by Leo Messi, or by the Vancouver Whitecaps, led by Thomas Mueller. So we are going to see for the first time a reigning World Cup winner and MLS Cup champion. It's going to be a fun match. I think it's going to be a good match too. Like we saw last year with the Galaxy, they went out to such a quick start. It was just, could the Red Bulls get back into the game? But I think this is going to be a much more balanced game. I think there's going to be a lot of chess match going on between the coaching staff and how they position their players, how they bring in and when they bring in their subs. And I'm really excited to see it play out. These two teams, by the way, were both defeated by the Chicago Fire in the regular season. The Fire drew Miami 0-0 in Chicago and then went down to Miami and beat them 5-3 to secure a playoff spot. And then the Chicago Fire also defeated Vancouver 3-1. That was earlier on in the season, if I recall, and Vancouver hadn't really found that groove that they have been in lately. Miami also coming in on a bit of a hot streak as well. So we're going to talk about the odds, we're going to talk about the predictions, we're going to look at some commentators, reviews and predictions and things, and we're going to break it all down in this episode. Also a couple little Fire announcements that we will loop in at the end of the show. But I want to ask you all, if you want to get involved with the show, please email me, glasshousesoccer@gmail.com, whether it's to talk soccer, whether it's to make comments on what we're talking about here, voice your opinion. I can read your thoughts on the air here. Also, find me on social media at glasshousesoccer. Always great to connect. And please make sure we're liking, subscribing, rating, reviewing, sharing the show, growing the conversation around the Chicago Fire and Major League Soccer. All right, let's get back to MLS Cup 2025 preview here. So the match kicks off this Saturday, December 6th, 1:30 p.m. Central Time. It takes place at Chase Stadium down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And the betting odds here, according to DraftKings, and I'm not a gambler and I'm not advocating it, but the betting odds right here have Miami as the favorite at -235 and Vancouver Whitecaps as a slight underdog at +175. These teams hadn't met head-to-head during the regular season, but back in CONCACAF Champions Cup in April, so practically another season, Vancouver ended up defeating Miami 5-1 on aggregate. So there is a little head-to-head history this season, not during the regular season, but these are two completely different teams from that time. Now, how did these teams get to where they are now? How did they get to the MLS Cup final here? Inter Miami defeated Nashville 2-1 in a best-of-3 series in the first round, and then just went on to dominate. A 4-0 victory at FC Cincinnati and a 5-1 victory against New York City. Messi has been absolutely incredible during this playoff run. 13 goal contributions in the playoffs, 6 goals, 7 assists is an MLS Cup playoff record. He has done everything for this team. He'll probably be the first ever back-to-back MVP winner. We have had multiple winners, but never back-to-back. So it is absolutely incredible what he's been doing this season. Tadeo Allende and Matteo Silvetti have also emerged as attacking options for this team. Allende has 8 playoff goals, which is the league's single postseason record. He's tied for the league's postseason record and could surpass that in this MLS Cup final. So Miami is just clicking on all cylinders. They're doing it without Luis Suarez starting, and I think if you go back and check his stats last couple games without him playing or starting, they're a much better team, and I think that's because you're getting a little bit more of a defensive effort, a little bit of a counterpress from the younger strikers that are filling in for Suarez. They also are able to drop a little bit deeper, get involved in some of the buildup, and then continue to push forward, where Suarez, again, whether it's age, whether it's miles, whether it's minutes, whether it's a little nagging injuries, he's just not as mobile around the pitch. He's absolutely lethal in the final third still, but to put a complete game together for a striker, it's much more difficult for him now. So we're seeing a lot of these younger players really contribute on both sides of the ball for Miami. Now looking at the Whitecaps, they had a 2-0 series win versus FC Dallas. Dallas not being able to steal a game from them at all. They ended up drawing LAFC in the Western Conference semifinals 2-2 and emerging victorious on penalties, and then defeated San Diego FC 3-1, thereby preserving to the Chicago Fire as the only expansion team to win a championship, not only in MLS, but I believe in all of American professional sports. I think the Golden Knights came closest, falling in the Stanley Cup Finals when it was their expansion season. But I think the Chicago Fire, I know they're the only MLS team to win it in their expansion season, and I think they're still the only American professional sports team to win it in their expansion season. Now, just like Miami has come to rely on Leo Messi for all things, Thomas Mueller has come into Vancouver and has been playing extremely well with 9 goals and 4 assists in 12 matches. And that's throughout the regular season, not just in the playoffs like Messi's crazy numbers were. We also see Brian White, who's leading Vancouver in scoring, continuing his good pace. He's got 24 goals across all competitions, including a brace in the Western Conference Final. Ryan Gauld is back in action after missing several months with a knee injury. You've also got Sebastian Berhalter and Tristan Blackman, who are best 11 this year, and Blackman being named Defender of the Year. Like, these guys have stepped their game up, even to the point where Berhalter is getting called into the U.S. men's national team camp and contributing in meaningful international minutes there. Meaningful for him. They were in friendly matches, but these are meaningful minutes in the fact that he has continued his development and really show that he can handle himself at the USMNT level. And then, of course, getting contributions from Ali Ahmed, Andres Cuba, and MLS All-Star goalkeeper Yohei Takaoka. Now, I said it in the last episode, they say in most games that a keeper's got to make the one save that you don't expect him to and make all the routine saves. Takaoka is going to have to make all the routine saves and probably make 3 or 4 saves you wouldn't expect him to. This is going to be an offense in Miami, something that they likely hadn't faced throughout the regular season, and probably something they only faced in LAFC, where he had to come up with some big saves. So eyes are going to be on Takaoka. It's going to start with him, but then can Vancouver keep the pressure up on Miami and not let Miami just sit back, relax, pick them apart, keep possession, and play their game? Now, it's going to be a really interesting thought, or a really interesting thought exercise, I guess. We'll call it that. Let's see. One way or the other, is it going to be Miami's possession? Is it going to be Miami's counterattacking? Is it going to be Vancouver trying to dominate the game? Or are they going to try and absorb some of the pressure from Miami? I think when we see teams try to do that against Messi and that he's given the time and given the space, it never works out. No matter how well you want to play defense, he's going to find a way to pick up an assist, to contribute on a goal in some way, or take that strike from just outside the box. So I think Vancouver has to be more aggressive than you'd want to see. Additionally, it's a final. We know those first 20 minutes are going to be a little nervy, but you've got players of the caliber like Messi and Mueller who have been in big games throughout their entire career, both club and country career. So I don't think they're going to be fazed as much by the nerves. So we'll see if some of the other players, some of the guys who have come up through Major League Soccer and who haven't had their big moments yet, if they're going to be able to handle that pressure of walking out on that pitch in Chase Stadium, playing for a trophy, playing for MLS Cup. And honestly, with Mueller now in the mix for Vancouver, this is why they brought him in. They knew that they had something special going on and that he could really put them over the top. So not only is he contributing on the score sheet and doing everything he needs to make sure this Vancouver team is in trophy contention, but he can bring that steadying hand to the locker room. He can be a senior presence. He can calm his teammates down, and they can look to him for that steady presence. Now, what they have to avoid is what Miami did with Messi his first season, where they were just looking at him like, go win us a game. Vancouver cannot look to Mueller to win them the game. They have to win it together as a team. Now, Miami, when they did look to Messi just to win them games, when they were struggling, when they were losing or level with teams, they would just say, like, go do something. And it never really worked because it's still an 11v11. Messi can't take on 11 guys. As amazing as he's been, and as some of these MLS defenses, I think, have been giving him too much credit and respecting him a little too much. But that has changed with Miami. So they are playing as good as we've seen any club this season play. So if Vancouver can calm their nerves, play their game, and take the pressure to Miami, who has struggled on defense, though with Suarez being out, they haven't conceded over the last couple of matches. I think that Vancouver can take this game from Miami despite being the slight underdog here. Now, what is being said around the league? What are the pundits talking about here? There's a few quotes that I want to pull from MLSsoccer.com and see if you agree or disagree with some of the big names in MLS broadcasting here. This is Marcelo Balboa now, the former USMNT player, the former MLS star, currently a match analyst. He says, this is probably the best we've seen Inter Miami and Vancouver play all year, and we've got one of the best and well-balanced MLS Cups in league history, but when you have Messi, you're always going to be the favorite. So he thinks that Miami is going to win this match. Also, Sasha Kljestan, former USMNT and MLS star, now studio analyst, picks Miami to win this game. He says, MLS Cup has two of the best teams we've seen all season. I expect goals, and if the game goes back and forth, I'm picking the team that has Messi. Miami win 3-2. So there you go. They're both saying that as good as Vancouver is, Messi is the factor that will decide it. And here now we hear from Andrew Wiebe, also supporting Miami, an insider and reporter for Major League Soccer. He says, my heart says the Whitecaps will win. I love watching this team. I love their story, but I don't think Messi will be denied. This is one of those games where in the biggest moments, the biggest player turns it on and makes a difference. Miami get the win at home. So everyone picking Miami, including Lori Lindsay, a match analyst, Miguel Gallardo, a studio and match analyst, Tony Cerci, match analyst, and Andres Agulla, a match analyst. All of them in their quotes and in their predictions, it's just Messi, 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 Messi. He's the factor. He's the deciding factor. He was brought here to win trophies. He's the greatest of all time to ever lace up the boots, to take the pitch. He's going to just dominate this game, or at least be the deciding factor in this game. So that's going to be really interesting. Now, for those people picking Vancouver, here's what they have to say. And let's start with Dax McCarty, studio analyst. Vancouver has been the most balanced team in MLS the entire year. They have a great goalkeeper, defensive stability, and identity that's easy to see every time they step on the field. And they have match winners. They won't be scared to go into Miami because they've already done it before in the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinals and played them off the pitch. So, Dax McCarty is looking at the balance of Vancouver, their confidence coming from the earlier victory against Miami, albeit in CONCACAF Champions Cup in April, as well as, and their game changers. Mueller, Berhalter can be a game changer too. That is what Dax McCarty says is going to put them ahead of Miami and give them the trophy. Now, his in-studio partner, Bradley Wright Phillips, also picks Vancouver, saying, I'm going with Vancouver, even though they're the road team. I think Brian White will get on the score sheet, and I'll say Emmanuel Sabi as well. They have too many threats for Miami. I think they will run all over them. I just don't know the final score. So this could be a high-scoring game. We've seen Andrew Wiebe who said 3-2? No, it was Sasha Kljestan who said it was 3-2. We've got Bradley Wright Phillips saying it could be a high-scoring match. There's going to be goals here. Again, and in my opinion, I think there will be goals as long as the teams don't come out nervy in those first 20 minutes. Kindred de St. Aubin, another match analyst for MLS Soccer, says, Vancouver embraced the underdog role and will want to spoil the Miami party. Mueller's personality is infectious, and they finished out games without him even on the field lately. The Whitecaps aren't intimidated by any stars, just like we saw against the LAFC in the Western Conference semifinals, and they've already overcome so much this year. Steve Cangialosi, Play-by-play announcer says, I think it ends 2-2 and Vancouver wins in penalties. Tristan Blackman will limit Tadeo Allende's runs in behind. Thomas Mueller leads the Vancouver press and gives Inter Miami a unique challenge. I also trust Takaoka more than Rocco Rios Novo in a shootout, but of course, all of this goes sideways if Messi decides to own the day. So even though he's taken Vancouver in penalties, he still says Messi's the factor. But there's a clear difference. Everyone picking Miami is saying Messi's the difference maker, and everyone picking Vancouver is saying Vancouver's balance, their defense, and their playmakers, their whole team is what will win them the match here. Now, looking at my own prediction, I'm kind of in that same boat as Andrew Wiebe said, where my heart is telling me pick Vancouver. Like it's their first MLS Cup championship if they win it. Even though they're the Canadian team, they've got a lot of history. They've won their Canadian championships. They've had an amazing, incredible season that, as well as they played over the last 2 to 3 years, like they finally got it all together. From the coaching to the stars stepping up, the budding stars stepping up, to the DP signing, like everything has come together for them here. Meanwhile, on the flip side, you've got Miami, it's the Messi machine, it's the Messi show, it's Messi and Friends, whatever you want to call it. And as much as they have been, I don't want to say the darling of Major League Soccer, other than the I don't know, the moneymaker for MLS soccer. I don't know a nice way to say it or a different way to say it. Like I really do think Vancouver as a whole can overcome what is Messi and Miami. I do think that you also have to give Vancouver the coaching advantage. Jesper Sorensen has had to do a lot of great coaching this season. Mascherano, it's his for Miami, first coaching gig. There's been plenty of times where he hasn't had really control over his team. Maybe that's part of the reason he's been benching Suarez to send a message there. And yeah, you can rely on Messi when you're in his boat. And I was almost going to say, it's like, yeah, how hard is it to coach LeBron James? How hard is it to coach Leo Messi, right? So I'm going to give Jesper Sorensen the edge in coaching. I'm going to give that to Vancouver. And again, the overall team performance, I think, trumps what Messi can do. Now, again, all it takes is 1 or 2 moments, and Messi's going to have 2 goals or a couple assists or 1 of each, and Vancouver's going to have to make up 2 goals like that. But I think they can, and I think when the game gets tight late, I think it'll favor Vancouver in this one, and I think there's going to be a little doubt, especially if we look back to the Chicago Fire game where they defeated Miami 5-3, and Messi ripped this shot and it just went right over the crossbar. I think Brady even got some fingertips to it, and 99% of the time when Messi takes that shot from that spot just outside the 18 center of the pitch, it's going in the back of the net. And he just looked that much off that night, and that's all it took for the Fire to end up winning 5-3, despite goal contributions from him otherwise. If he's that much off, and I really think he might be, then that's going to be Vancouver's edge. So I'm going to take Vancouver in a 3-2 victory. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm hoping for. And we'll see how it plays out this Saturday. Now, turning to our hometown Chicago Fire, the signing of Mbekezeli Mbokazi has really energized the South African soccer fan base. They are a passionate fan base. They have tons of coverage, tons of independent sources, podcasts, YouTube channels, everything down in South Africa talking about their teams, their clubs, their national team, and I have to say their fans have absolutely turned up. Initially, I was a little worried because what is now apparent, it was a vocal minority of South African soccer fans saying MLS is trash, it's a step down for Mbokazi to come play in Chicago and to play in MLS, he's just in it for the money, all this sort of thing. But now, after that vocal minority has kind of been drowned out a bit and been called out on some of the misinformation that they were spreading about Major League Soccer and about the Chicago Fire, notably that they were using statistics from 2024 to say the Fire are bad. It's like, did you just forget about all this season? Anyway, It's great to see how energized and how engaged the South African soccer base is. They have been all over the Chicago Fire message boards, Twitter accounts, social media accounts. It's been great seeing the banter back and forth saying, okay, if you're going to cheer on the Chicago Fire, now you got to hate St. Louis and Columbus and Dallas. And if you're going to cheer on the Orlando Pirates, now you got to hate Kaiser Chiefs. All right, cool, great. Agreement, handshake, virtual handshake there from the different fan bases. It's been a lot of fun seeing it, and I'm absolutely excited to see how much more the South African soccer fan base is going to join in with the Chicago Fire fan base and other MLS fans. So I think that is absolutely incredible, and I'm glad I kept reading the social media stuff and seeing the engagements after that vocal minority came out against Mbekezeli signing with the Fire. Another Mbekezeli little tidbit, if you haven't already seen it, his nickname is TLB, so maybe I'll refer to him than that than try to continue to butcher some of these South African pronunciations, but it is known as the Lion Block, I have seen, or the Load Bulldozer, and there's been a lot of memes of him already bulldozing over other players and teams, notably Messi or St. Louis. So he has a great nickname already, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him in action against MLS competition. One other announcement here from the Chicago Fire, and then we'll wrap the show, a little quick one so we can get you into your weekend. And this is more of a business announcement. The Chicago Fire have entered into an agreement with Levy as the food and beverage hospitality provider for their new stadium. So this is an article from the Sports Business Journal that gives us a little insight into what's to come at the 78. The Fire have selected Levy as the food and beverage provider of the MLS club's new stadium that will open in 2028. Levy now counts half of MLS as clients, and locally in its home city provides food and beverage at Soldier Field, Wrigley Field, United Center, and Rate Field, formerly Guaranteed Rate Field, still referred to by me and my family as Comiskey Park or Sox Park. So Levy's doing it all in Chicago, and they already are doing it for half of Major League Soccer. So think of that. Are we Fire fans? Is that something you're happy about? Do you even care about this? Are you happy with the food services around all your Chicago stadiums? Do you think that, why would are they just joining in the trend of other MLS clubs here, or is there something different going on? Well, let's hear what Dave Baldwin has to say, and we'll get into some more details about that. Quote, "We held them to an extremely high standard. There was no early award or defaulting to Levy," end quote, said Fire Business Operations President Dave Baldwin. So, okay, if we're going to take Dave Baldwin at his word, then Levy had to compete for this job just like everyone else did. The article continues that says Sodexo Live and Oakview Group were two other providers that the Fire seriously considered during the RFP process. At least 5 of the main sports venue, food and beverage industry players came to Chicago to pitch the Fire executives at the Wrigley Building. As an aside, the team does move to the Wrigley Building for their new offices this week. So, continuing on, we have Levy CEO Andy Lansing weighing in, saying, "Very often, teams and stadium builders want to know what everyone else is doing, and while that's really informative because there are some great ideas out there, the Fire were less concerned with what everyone else is doing, and they really had an opinion on what they should be doing. While that sounds logical and normal, it's not always the case. They really want this to be hyper-local. This area is so rich with different ethnicities and food stories, we're going to bring the outside in," end quote. So there you go. That gives it a little bit more of an insight from Levy's side that no, the Fire weren't just going to the standard supplier who everyone else uses. They had a specific vision, and it sounds like Levy was the company that could realize that better than the rest. Now, the article continues to say that premium services will also be a major focus and revenue generator in the new stadium, which was a key part of Levy's approach to the account. Okay, so yeah, maybe there was a bit of a money aspect. Levy said, you know what, we can maximize your experience here in the stadium, your food and beverage experience in the stadium by introducing these premium experiences. And Dave Baldwin even says, our premium is going to be unlike anything else in North American soccer, and our hope is it ends up being the best in all of Chicago sports, and Levy understood that from the start. So as much as Levy knows MLS, as much as Levy knows Chicago, as much as they can bring the Fire's vision to life, they can also maximize the profits. What can't they do here, folks? What can't Levy do with the Chicago Fire? Now, the article wraps up saying that the details about the deal weren't shared, though a source close to the negotiations indicated it's one of the largest food and beverage deals for an American soccer club. The deal gets Levy on board early in the stadium development process, as was the case with Nashville, St. Louis, Columbus, Austin, Cincinnati, DC United, and Atlanta. So it's great that now their input can be input and heard by developers of the stadium, and hopefully then that maximizes the experience for the fans. Hopefully they're able to cut through lines, being able to turn food around quickly. I think it gets away from the Soldier Field. Hopefully it'll get them away from the Soldier Field ordering kiosks where you got to go into this little alcove, order your food, and then go find the screen it corresponds to and wait there, and that whole process. And hopefully, again, it's just a better experience. And at the end of the day, okay, fine, I'll order in an alcove and walk across the walkway to get my food if the food is a reasonable price and a good product. And I think that's what I wanted to focus on, and that's what I would love to see this deal with Levy in the new stadium, that they have good food at a reasonable price. If I'm going to take my family to a game and the kids are going to all want something to eat, I'm not going to want to have to shell out another $150, $200 on top of tickets and everything else to get down to the stadium, right? So hopefully it's at a reasonable price, and hopefully these premium experiences bring in enough revenue for the Fire that they don't have to inflate other food and beverage prices for the regular fan. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that season ticket member discount on concessions will actually be accepted at all the concession stands, and not just the ones that are manual entry by some of the workers and some of the people they had contract with. All the kiosks couldn't get your season ticket member discount. So that's hopefully something that gets remedied. Also, I hope there's more ice cream than just 2 Dippin' Dot stations. Because, man, my kids would wait 45 minutes for it. I'm like, guys, we just missed the entire second half. What are we doing here? Anyway, that is the latest and greatest from around Major League Soccer and the Chicago Fire organization. I want to thank you all for tuning in, whether it's on YouTube or listening on a podcast. I really do appreciate it. Also, Donnie, thank you so much for writing in. Great to get an email from you, as well as everyone else who's reached out on social media and interacted on the Reddit, as I'm trying to get a little more involved there. But again, please like, subscribe, rate, review, share the link, share the show, and as always, let's go Fire.